Well, good morning. I'm Jim Moore, and you are watching Justice for America. It is Friday, February 7th, 2025, and this episode number 119. We're going to be talking about four primary things today. We're going to talk about the United States taking over the Gaza Strip, where all the fighting has been going on, and the desolation. That's an interesting topic. The USAID, which really stands for something different than what it sounds like, but it is USAID. So we're going to be talking about the USAID debacle and the wasteful spending that has happened. Really, really, really bad, evil stuff. All right. And then the cartels that are very likely, I would say almost without hesitation, that they're going to be increasing in their violence in the coming days. So we're going to talk about all those things. So first, let me ask you, if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble or any of the other channels that we're on, please like the program, subscribe. Now, some of you, if you watch this was made known to me the other day. If you watch this on TV, you may have trouble actually liking and subscribing on your television, depending on what kind of TV you have and so on. It's actually a lot easier to do on your phone. So if you're watching on TV, once you're done, go back, open up the program on YouTube on your phone, and it's a lot easier to like and to subscribe and leave a comment. Hi, Tanya. Love you. All right. So, and then share, of course, the program. So ask you to do that. All right. Let's jump right into this, as we like to say. Let me start out by giving a little bit of background. People ask me sometimes, and I ask myself sometimes, why are you doing this? Jim, you're a preacher, have been for 40 years, not ashamed of the gospel, not ashamed of my calling. I love you. Why do you do this? Have you moved? I've sat in meetings with ministers and Christians who mock people that have got involved in government. Now listen, I've always been a patriot, I've always been a person who loves our country. Most believers will say, yeah, we love our country, or at least what it started out to be. So I want to make clear that I love my country. I just up until recently, have not really been in love with my government. Because see, there's a difference. Like, think about Israel. You can love Israel and not love the way it's governed. Like in the Bible, right? There were times it was governed correctly and times it wasn't. When the people would stand up and say, hey, government has gone right, that didn't mean they hated Israel. It meant they loved Israel, actually, so they were speaking up for righteous government. That's where my heart is about this. And I, a couple of years ago, got a mandate from the Lord. I won't go into the testimony, but it was dramatic. And how the Lord said, through an angelic encounter, I want you to do this. I want you to speak up on this. Now, we preached for years. We don't touch politics. It's dirty. It's awful. Okay, that was wrong. I did it. That was wrong. Okay, here's my mantra. I'll say it real quick. If it matters to God, it matters to me, or it should matter to you. Okay, it may not be your call. It may not be what you're supposed to spend a lot of time doing, but please don't put other people down who do have a call to speak up against the evils that are happening in our culture. That is biblical, okay? New Testament, Old Testament is biblical. So let me just read something real quick I wrote. Hang in with me, and I'll get to the links. If you don't know, I share links for you to go back and look at. 90% of what you get out of this program is by looking up those links. So I encourage you to do it. But let me read this. Why do we do this? There is a global conflict. Now, I've written this down. You can go back, quote me, cut and paste it, whatever. There is a global conflict that is playing out on many fronts. Okay? The spiritual conflict, good versus evil, okay, God versus the devil, call it whatever you want, good, bad, whatever, does not just play out in the halls of Christendom, in the church, in religion. It plays out in every aspect of society. Now, this is biblical. You know, just because you don't like the media doesn't mean there's not a spiritual warfare going on there. Or the entertainment industry, or the military, or the government, or our school system, or our police department. I mean, you name it. There is always spiritual conflict plays out wherever there are human beings, okay? And for us to pick and choose and say, well, that doesn't really matter, is foolishness, actually. All right, let me go on. The theater of the war that we're in, and ultimately, this is way above politics. It's way above anything, any issue that you could name. There's something greater than that. The theater of this war is spiritual at its core, okay? And it has eternal consequences. But it plays out in carnal venues, okay? We must remind ourselves why these things matter. Well, I don't really care about that. You should. If there are human beings involved that God is fighting for, you should care about whatever venue they're in. Do you understand? Now, that doesn't mean you can be involved in all of them. I get that. But for heaven's sakes, don't spend your time putting people down who are called to be involved in it. All right, let me go on. We must remind ourselves these things matter. They matter because eternal souls are at stake, literally. And because they matter to God, they matter to us. Now, let me just finish by saying this, and then I'll go to link number 1. All right? I don't mean to be preachy, but I think from time to I do have a large Christian audience, and I want you to understand why these things matter. Jim hasn't just gone off the rails and now he's all political. No, these have always mattered. They mattered to me before God said, hey, I want to hear your voice talk about these things. Okay? And I know they matter to a lot of you. Some of you are called to speak up, whatever. All right. There's a unique worldview as a Christian that we have. And that is, we believe the words of Jesus above every other word. That's my opinion. That's my point of view. My worldview is based on the testimony, the life, and the words of Jesus. And what he says is that we're not wrestling against flesh and blood. Okay? Sports are not bad, but human trafficking that's going to happen in the Super Bowl is among the darkest evil on the planet. Okay, that's not my subject, but I'm trying to illustrate a point. All right? So my worldview is not just, hey, let's get better politics so we can have a more comfortable life. Even though God said to do that, he said, pray for everyone that's in authority that you may lead a quiet and godly and peaceable life. Okay, but then he went on to say, because he wants all men to be saved, in the same verse. So God is always saying, listen, live a peaceable life. I want you to have good leadership. Leadership matters, has direct effect on people. Just ask anybody whose sons or daughters have been hurt because of bad leadership and allowing things that shouldn't be allowed. Okay, just ask them if you don't think it matters. Leadership matters. It says, but there is something even greater than good leadership. And that is what happens in eternity. All right, so I'm going to stop there. I felt compelled to give you that. I hope that made a difference. Now, let's start with the idea of Gaza being built. I've only got one link here. And again, my policy for this is typically to give you a small number of links, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that, per subject, and then have you go look them up. Some of them are long, some of them are short. I try to do the short ones. I can't always do it. All right, number 1. Donald Trump, who is like on a crazy roll right now, literally changing the environment of our nation and the world. Okay, you cannot deny that that's happening. There are people fighting against that, and you're going to see the fighting increase. Okay, you're going to see those who are opposed to him, it's not about a person, it's about policy. I hope you get that. Remember that. Not about a person, it's about policy. Donald Trump could be gone tomorrow and somebody else could step in with the same policies and it wouldn't be about them either. Okay? Do you understand that? I know you do. I'm preaching to the choir. All right, so there's a lot of screaming, a lot of crying, a lot of people mad. I am surprised it hasn't gone to more violent protests, but yeah, I'm glad. Okay. So the president has come out and said that he's going to step in. A lot of information here. I'm not going to cover it all, but he's going to step in to the now coming to a close, hopefully, Palestinian conflict, the conflict on the Gaza Strip where Hamas and various terrorist organizations have thrived and actually hurt many, many people in the world. Now, you know what's happened? Israel finally said, we've had enough. We've been dealing with this for decades. You guys firing missiles at us nearly, are you listening? Nearly every single day for decades. missiles coming over into Israel. Now, that's a fact. I don't care if you don't believe it, it's a fact. And they finally said, we've had enough. Now, I'm not going to go into the big argument about, okay, maybe they shouldn't have gone so far, blah, blah, blah. Here's the situation on the ground. The place looks like Armageddon. Not really, because Armageddon is blood up to the horse's bridle. But those of you who are theologians, okay. But it looks like, to say it's a war zone doesn't even cut it. It's basically a pile of rubble. There's no infrastructure, there's no electricity, there's no water, there's no food, there's nothing. So to have all the Palestinians, the Gazans, to come back into that place as it is right now is crazy. And they might as well go out and live in a desert in a tent. There's nothing there. But they do want to come back. Of course they do. All right, so Donald Trump has said, we're going to step in. Okay, now everybody freaked out. Oh, we're going to send military in. I'll cover that in a minute. But basically, he said we're going to come in and we're going to bring in infrastructure. We want the Gazans to be able to come back and have peace there and so on and so on and so on. All right, you can listen to all the debates as you want. I'm just telling you what's happening, all right? So the immediate cries, there's going to be military. Now, I've heard people say, including Caroline Levitt, the new... what do they call a press person? I forget some of these names. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. She replaced Jean Pierre, whatever her name was. Anyway, there's not going to be. The president hasn't said there's going to be any military. Blah blah blah. Okay, I'm just going to say this. It's probably impossible. I'm just going to tell you what I think. Okay, it's probably impossible that this restoration of Gaza, which I think is a good thing. Okay. This is what the United States does. We give billions of dollars to all kinds of countries to help them out. I believe some of that is good and some of it is not good. Now, some of you right now, we're going to go to the USAID thing and you're going to freak out and go, oh, we should never help any other country. No, that's not who we are. As a country, we do help other people, but it has to be the right kind of help because there's a whole lot of wrong kind of help that's happening right now. But I think, it's my opinion, Gaza... for us to help them, just like in World War II, when Europe was devastated, Germany especially, because of one man's demonic leadership. Leadership matters, right? Come on, somebody say something. You guys talk to me out there. Leave a comment below, all right? One man's leadership devastated Germany. The America, okay, you're our enemy. We had to fight you. You were trying to take over the world. Very, very bad. But now we're going to come in and help you. That's actually the right thing to do. All right, so that's what Donald Trump wants to do. How successful it'll be, who knows? Watch the link, hear a little bit about it. The idea that we probably will have no troops there, I think is kind of ridiculous. What are you going to do? Just send a whole bunch of construction guys over there and expect them to be safe? Probably not. But the idea of militarily taking over in that level, that regard, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's the plan either. Thanks, Deborah. Hallelujah, Debbie. All right, so that's all we're going to do for that one. So now I want to talk about the second part of the program, which is the I want to say this correctly, USAID. I forget what AID stands for. If you know, you can write it in the comment section. I love it when you guys look up stuff and put it in there. It's actually very helpful. Hey, Gene, God bless you. Love you. All right, so what is happening right now? And again, I want to give you the short form version, and you can look it up, okay? I hope by now that you have a few, and now these are the ones I have. I know that there's like 140 million YouTube accounts out there. Then there's Rumble, and then there's X, and then there's Telegram. I mean, there's millions of them, literally millions. So you don't have to watch the ones I watch, and I don't spend a lot of time doing them. I could go really deep in this stuff if I did, but that's not my call. I'm called to preach the gospel. I'm going to stay faithful to that, but I am also at least temporarily called to do this. All right. So I'm going to give you a few of those in here just a minute. So the bottom line is that DOGE, D-O-G-E, Department of Governmental Expense, is that what it is? Okay. There has been, hi Christy, nearly zero accountability, very little accountability. This particular agency USAID funds to the tune of, no exaggeration, hundreds of billions of dollars a year. You see, our government's always printing money because we never have enough to do the things that we're going to do. And 80% of the stuff that we do is not even necessary. Somehow we got to the place where we felt like we were supposed to be the kingpin in everything that goes on in the world. We are supposed to have influence, but we don't have to finance everything. Okay? And the idea that the government always needs more money is a literal result of the decades of wasteful, unaccountable spending that's going on. Now, those of you who've been around for a while, come on, somebody say amen, Jim. You're preaching good. I'm preaching better than you're Some of you have been around for a while. I remember the times 20 years ago, or ish, where they were talking about toilet seats costing $5,000 and screwdrivers costing $2,000. You get what I'm saying? This has always been. Okay, I'm trying to get you to see government waste has always been a reality. Why? Because the people who spend the money are not accountable to the American taxpayer from whom they get their money. Say, well, they get their money from the government. No, they get it from the taxpayer. Let's remember this. Okay? We give them money, they spend the money foolishly or wisely. That's it. It is very, very complicated, but in order to correct it, you have to simplify this thing and then axe it, put the axe to it, which is actually what's happening right now. And because Elon Musk and was going to be Vivek, now he's out of that picture, is actually doing, with Donald Trump's approval, cutting the waste out. And somebody said, Jim, do you think they're going to cut out some good stuff too? Yeah, I do. Well, what if this? What about this? What about this? What if this happens? What if this? See, this is why nothing ever gets done. This is what we always do. And this is what we've been doing for 20, 30, 40 years. Every time somebody steps up and says, we're going to correct this problem, everybody throws out all the reasons that why you can't, or why it might be difficult, or what somebody might suffer. It never gets done. Listen to me, hear me. I want to say this as calmly as I can. There is an old saying that has a great deal of accuracy. Desperate times call for simple measures, easy measures, uncomplicated. No, desperate times call for desperate measures. Listen, I liken it to this. You have a wreck on the road, okay? When the wreck happens, there's a time to dissect that thing, who did this and who did that. But in the immediacy of it, you don't run up and start blaming people. You run up and you stop the bleeding, okay? We don't want to do the hard things. And so the problem continues, okay? Now, Elon Musk and the federal government have now, well, all right, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. So when Elon Musk took over Twitter, what did he do? He realized that about 80% of the people, do you realize that the federal government employs 2 million people? Pause for effect. Let that sink in for a second. Our federal government employs 2 million people. Dear God in heaven, if there was ever waste, you see, government's tendency is always to just increase, not to decrease. Nobody ever decreases it. Are you listening to me? Nobody ever decreases it because everybody screams about losing their jobs, losing their funding for their projects that they do. Nobody wants to do anything. This is a first time, well, not maybe exactly first time, but certainly on this level, a first time this has ever happened. They're stepping up and they're saying, okay, first of all, we're going to give you an 8-month time to resign, okay? So when Elon came in with Twitter and bought Twitter and turned it into X, he actually fired about 80% of his crew because he knew he didn't need them. I'd say that's a pretty close. You don't have to quote me on this, but I think 80% of our government, of our employees and stuff, and that's going to make them mad. Jim, what if you were an employee of the government? I wouldn't like it. I'd be upset. I get it. But does it have to be done? You see, we've got people in the government right now that literally want to drain the swamp. They literally want to see a change. There's a lot of evil that's been happening, okay? And I'm going to take a second to say this. Jim the preacher here, going to say this for a minute. Hold on to your hat, okay? I believe that bad things could happen in the future with our current leadership. I'm not saying I believe they will. I'm saying I believe they can. I've got a number of prophetic people out there who are saying, I think this is a ruse. Elon Musk is going to open up the gateway, the portals to, and AI and this and that. You know what? You may be 100% right. I'm talking about what's happening right now. Is what's happening right now good or evil? All right? I would say the vast majority of what's happening right now, not all of it, because it's never all of it. And I don't want to diminish the things that are not good. Okay, we should talk about them too. Okay, I'm not going to do it in this program, but I have made some mentions anyway. I want to talk about the good things that are happening right now, the human trafficking, the fentanyl. Not that those are good. I'm talking about stopping them. The crazy DEI and transgender confusion, all that stuff that's happening right now. That is the kibosh is being put on them. It is good, it is right, and I believe 100%, I'd stake my life on it, that it's God. Now, is Donald Trump going to go crazy? He could. You've heard me say this before. But right now, that's not happening, in my opinion, all right? This is why I say we need to pray for our leaders, because the whole thing could come down like a house of cards. Believe me, it really could. It's happened before, okay? There's battles between light and darkness. People go off the rails. Do you realize that in Nazi Germany, how it is that man with the letter H came into power? He came into power because of the dire circumstances of the nation. Economic poverty, moral decline, all the things that we've seen in our country in the last however many years. He came to fix, and he said, I'm going to fix him. And he did. He came in like a lion. He came in like a bull. He had evil intent in his heart. Okay? People just wanted better economics. They just wanted better life. They just wanted to come back to some moral common sense. Okay? Now, have you ever heard this saying? I'm done, and I'm going to go to the next link. Have you ever heard the saying, if you can't beat them, join them? This is a primary tactic of evil. If you can't beat them, join them. Please don't say or think that I'm saying I don't have a word from the Lord that everything's going to go bad, except for what the Bible says, that eventually, it's going to get real bad. Okay. If one of the enemy's tactics, I know I'm preaching here, one of the enemy's tactics is if you can't beat him, join him. Okay? If you cannot do the wrong thing and win, do the right thing and get on the side of people that want right. You get what I'm saying? I'm trying to get you to be a little bit intelligent. I know most of you are. Realize that we are we're rejoicing because there are actually many, many good things that are happening, but that could turn very quickly. So I'm begging you to pray. All right. So DOGE has, not just DOGE, but the president and so on, about 70%, I think, of federal employees, maybe you don't know this, my understanding is about 70%, I could be a little off on that, of federal employees are resigning, quitting, taking the parachute, the bailout, whatever. Yeah, that is bigger than you could possibly imagine. All right? So I want to read to you some of the things that USAID has funded. And the last one, if you haven't seen it already, is going to shock you. Maybe not so much. It did me. All right. Let me read this real quick because I copied this from someone else. Why would anyone be against wasteful expenditures? Put the money we're spending, or the government is spending, to work in America for the most part, okay? We can help other countries too. But when we're sending billions to places like, well, all over the world, and yet we have our own people in North Carolina, Tennessee, hurricane scenario, Los Angeles fire, those people are going without because we sent it all somewhere else. That, my friend, is reprehensible. There's a $25 word for you. It is dark. It is evil. And people should be held accountable for that. All right. So let's let me just read some of these. These are literal monies that you paid for. Pause for effect. Your dollars went for this. Now that's the thing that disgusts me more than anything else. I do not want my money. If I thought there was a way to do this legally, I would pull it out. Okay? I don't think that's legal. Jesus said, give to Caesar what's Caesar's. I get it. There's a dichotomy there. Yeah. But I am giving tax money to evil things. And if they're not evil, they're just plain wasteful. Let me just say it this way. Okay? I'm trying to make this short. We have more than enough money in this country to run this country. Way more. We should never have to print another dollar bill, ever. Are you listening? Now you say, oh, Jim, you just don't understand. No, you don't understand. That is the truth. If we drew back all the crazy spending, we would have a surplus. We could pay off our national debt. Boy, wouldn't that be something? Let me read them to you. These are things that have already been paid out. Maybe somebody add the millions up into the billions, trillions, whatever. $7.9 million to teach Sri Lankan journalists how to avoid binary gendered language. We gave Sri Lanka almost $8 million to teach their journalists how to avoid binary, in other words, how to not call someone male or female. We gave $20 million to create a new Sesame Street show in Iraq. Wonder how that could have been used. Yeah. Let them have it, but we don't have to fund it. Come on. This should make your blood boil. Why? Not just because these are crazy things, and they are, but because we have no say. Do you know that this country was founded on the principle of Americans being taxed without having anything to say about it? That's what this exactly. It has come around full circle. This is taxation without representation. We don't get a say in it. That's changing. All right. $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. All of these are written down in the comment box. You can look at them. $1.5 million for, listen now, art for inclusion of people with disabilities. Yeah. I love helping the disabled, but I really don't think we need to give them $1 million to paint pictures. All right. $2 million for SEX. I don't want to say it out loud because it'll cut me. $2 million for biological changes and alphabet activism, LG, you see what I'm saying? Okay. $2 million for activism for crazy, in Guatemala. We're funding, are you listening to me? We are funding perversion. All right, listen to me. Thanks, babe. I'm going to say it. Might get me bounced. I'm sorry to the guys that are helping me here. You are funding perversion around the world. The Bible talks in the last days about a great prostitute, the great harlot, mystery harlot, that corrupts the entire world with her immorality. Again, I'm not going to say the S word, but you get what I'm saying. We're doing that, and you're paying for it. You should be enraged by this. But you know what? We're too busy watching our programs and just trying to make a buck, and it's all about us. It's all about me and my little world and the difficulties. Okay, not trying to be mean. All right, let me go on. There's more. $6 million to transform digital spaces to reflect feminist democratic principles. All with your taxpayer money. $2 million to help the BBC value the diversity of the Libyan society. Okay. $10 million worth of USAID funded meals that went to an Al-Qaeda linked terror group to help them have meals. We're feeding Al-Qaeda. This is all absolute documented. There is none of this is like, well, I just don't believe that's happening. Okay, well, bless your heart. It's all there, okay? We have to get past our little cognizant dissonance where it's so hard to believe that we just refuse to believe it and we turn the other way and go back, to watching Game of Thrones. All right. Sorry, not sorry. 25 million, that's a lot of money, to promote green transportation in Georgia. 2.5 million to promote inclusion in Vietnam. 16 million for a separate inclusion group in Vietnam. It was a group that is separate. Mark those words. 5 million to EcoHealth Alliance. Okay, it just goes on and on and on, and I don't have time to read them all. So many of these have to do with a person's gender, a person's preference. You understand what I'm saying? Their intimacy preferences, okay? Only reason I'm hesitating in how I say it is because I don't want this to get taken off like some of my others have. I want you to be able to see it, okay? All right, the second, I'm almost done here. The second one under this classification is Pam Bondi. There are so many executive orders and things that have been done in the last week. There's no way I can keep up with them. There's so many of them. And again, I said before, there are a number of venues that you can go to get your news. X is one, Telegram is another. You should go to the one, if you're still watching ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, except to just see the crazy and what the left is saying, because they're always against what's good and right, then you're making a big mistake. I don't know what else to tell you. But some of these are really good. Rumble's really good. YouTube is kind of both and. So anyway, I get a lot of my information from, again, Rumble, YouTube, Telegram, X, and a few others. All right. Pam Bondi, she is the new head of the Department of Justice. Now, real quick review. The Department of Justice has been weaponized during the last administration to come after people like you and I, and to come after anybody that opposes the regime. Now, that is a fact. And this woman has come in, and again, you can tell that she's going to do the right thing because of the way the opposite, the Dems, the liberals, the progressives, whatever you want to call them, the crazy liberals are opposing. Okay, well, she's in, and let me just say it this way, the radical changes that are about to happen in this country are beyond your ability to fully comprehend at this moment. You need to hang on to your chair. Don't just ignore and, it's just too much, I can't handle it. No, okay, set your boundaries so you can handle it. Okay, don't do one or the other. Don't just sit around singing Kumbaya, or don't just obsess. Okay, there are a lot of believers who they're so obsessed with what's going on in the political realm, they have forgotten about. And we don't think we forget about the other side, but we just kind of practically, if 80% of what you post on the internet is about, political issues, you probably gone, I'm just suggesting you may want to pull back a little bit. All right, you get what I'm saying. Here's a couple things that Pam has done. You're going to love this link. Pausing federal funds for sanctuary cities. You probably didn't know that. There's so many things happening you don't know, okay? That's why we're trying to show them to you. These are just a few. Paused federal funding for sanctuary cities. In other words, saying, hey, you sanctuary cities that want to protect illegal migration, illegal aliens that are, doing all these bad things, we're not going to send you money anymore. Duh. I mean, that's a great thing. Number 2, ending Justice Department. Okay, she's the head of the DOJ, right? Ending Justice Department, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. It's all in the same realm. Saying no more programs. We're done. She's the hatchet lady, taking a hatchet to it. 3, restoring us, probably didn't know this one, restoring the death penalty for violent crimes federally. Okay, laying the groundwork. Now, I believe that that's still up to states as well, but basically removing any obstacles federally and saying, oh yeah, it's completely permissible, all 50 states, this is what I think is happening. to have the death penalty for violent crimes. Murders, you get the R word, blah, blah, blah. Watch that link. Okay. Now here's the one that I said was going to be a big shock to you. Unfortunately, the only place I can find this is from Sean Foyt. Most of you know who he is. Christian musician and activist. About 13 minutes long. Sean did a live on Facebook. Now, I looked for it on his YouTube channel. I couldn't find it. If some of you can find it, great. Share it. And because some people they just have trouble accessing on Facebook. Most of you who are watching this do have access. Anyway, Sean came on, and here's what he said. Cut to the chase, Jim. Here's what he said. USAID, we're still talking about USAID, okay? And the wasteful spending. You see, let me say this, and I gotta end this up. There's still a lot of good links. I just don't have time to tell you all about them. When you give people a boatload of money, they become obligated at some level to you. All right. So what's happening right now is the vaults are being opened, and the administration that has come in is looking at the way the government has spent your money, because it is your money, believe it or not. I know that's hard to grasp, but it is. It is you that are paying for these things. So I just read you a big long list of them, crazy beyond words, to the tune of billions and billions of dollars. Well, I didn't know that Sean came out and talked about, hey Deb, is there are Christian groups. Now it's hard to believe this, maybe not. There are Christian media entities that have been receiving millions of dollars. Christianity Today. I'm not going to name a bunch of names because I don't know them all, but basically as things are being uncovered, it's like, oh, it's not just crazy leftists. It's not just somebody in Vietnam. It's not just money that we're sending. It's right here in this country. And it's not just secular things. It's also among Christians. Well, one of the ways to control a Christian agency, whether it's media or a church or whatever, give them a bunch of money. What did Jesus say? The love of money is the root of all evil. Okay? Loving money is at the root of all kinds of evil. So you give money to a big media agency whose leaders don't really like Donald Trump or whoever, or Elon or whoever. And what do you think those agencies are going to do? Are they going to have fair, like a Christian should, fair, unbiased reporting? So Sean is talking about all of these Christian agencies that have been coming against him. And he's trying to understand, oh my gosh, why is this just all spiritual? Do these people are they full of the devil and they don't know it? Or what's happening? Well, he made the connection when it was shown to him by people in the political realm that he has association with. He ran for government at one time, if you don't remember. Okay, here are the Christian agencies that have been receiving millions of dollars to oppose the current administration ever getting elected in the first place. And people like you who are for, it really comes down to that man, Donald Trump, okay? I am so ashamed of those agencies that call themselves Christian and would take dirty money. And it's not dirty because you gave it, okay? It's dirty because when it gets taken and then it's done for something evil, that's what makes it dirty money. Take that money and use it for mostly political gain. All right? So you need to watch that one. If you can't watch it for whatever reason, it is on my Facebook site. I've shared it. I gave you the link. Get a hold of me. We'll try to find it for you. All right, here's one you probably don't know, and I'm done. Trump is creating a task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias. It is a fact that the most spoken evil of religion among religions that are not like weird cults is Christianity. Nobody, it's just been that way for a long time. All right, so he's creating an agency to combat Christian, anti-Christian violence or bias. Okay. All right, I'm going to close my laptop here, and I'm going to give you the last one in 30 seconds here. Again, there are executive orders coming out. There's a plan in motion. Let me just say it this way. Okay. There's a plan in motion to cause the cartels to cease their activity in the United States of America. It may even be more than that, but that's definitely happening right now. There are plans that we know about, and then there are plans we don't even know about. But Donald Trump and his cabinet has said, we're going to shut off the fentanyl valve, the human trafficking valve. If I were to tell you, and I'm not, but if I were to tell you what actually happens among human trafficking, it would probably make you sick. I can't even think about it very much. It troubles my heart so much. We're not just talking about just a few, really, really bad things. It is so, so dark. You can't even imagine how dark it is. They're saying we're going to stop that. Now, I'm going to say this, and then I'm done. Human trafficking, there's so much that has happened because of the cartels. Will there be military intervention? I'm going to say almost absolutely, I believe there will be. I don't think there's going to be any way they can. The cartels are not going, there are billions of dollars that come in their coffers, trillions of dollars. These guys are the richest men and women in the world. They are not going to just roll over and give up because Donald Trump says so. Okay? They've already pulled back. There's already been some changes, but I'm expecting there to be how could I say this? A consolidation of these guys coming together with a plan to say we're gonna resist. Okay, I really think that's going to happen. I pray it doesn't, but I think it's going to happen. All right, because these guys are a economic force in the world. Okay, so what are they going to do to stop it? Well, they've already started sending people to the border. There may be military strikes that happen. This evil has gone on for so long. And I'm going to say this, and this is my parting shot. I want to tell you this, and I believe this is 1,000% true. This could have been stopped long ago. Let's just say this one thing. Human trafficking could have been stopped long ago. There's some very dark reasons why it hasn't been. Let me just say it this way. If God were to appear before the United States government right now and say, why haven't you stopped human trafficking? Do you think that they would be able to lay out all of their reasons and God go, oh, now I understand. Oh, I can totally see why you haven't been able to do this. No. Let me tell you, we're the greatest power on the earth, that we could stop this. Now, I believe the administration that is coming right now has every intention of doing that. Okay. Now, I don't mean to minimize the complexity of the problem. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we have not given the attention to this issue that we should have, and we're about to. This could cause tremendous upheaval. Okay. But it's worth it. It's worth it to set the children free. And I say children because that's the worst of the worst. All right. Okay, so what's going to happen with the cartel? Right now, the administration is saying, we're done. We're not going to let it happen anymore. Okay? Whether they'll do that, it's yet to be seen. But we should pray they would. Why? Because it's not about them. And it's amazing to me that there are massive numbers of people that are actually opposing this. I do not understand how wicked of a person you have to be to oppose the ending of human trafficking. Unless, somehow, I won't even say it. You get it. All right, so very good things are happening. Keep praying. Yeah, keep your chin up. Don't get depressed. That's never helpful. Okay, don't get weighed down, as Jesus said, with the cares of this life. Why? Because he's going to wrap this whole thing up. It's not Donald Trump, the savior, okay? I believe he's a good man with good intentions, going to do the good thing. He could go wrong. He could. Those of you who are prophesying that, you may be right. Yeah, we'll see. The important thing isn't you being right. Okay, what do we say the things we say for? To help people's hearts. Well, I'm the prophet and I got it right. Well, maybe so, okay, but did it help people? Go ahead and prophesy. Go ahead and declare. Go ahead and have informed information. But remember why you're doing it. You're doing it so that people won't be taken by surprise. They won't be emotionally destroyed if things don't go the way. And you know what? You don't always have to be right. What you do have to be is right-hearted. Okay? All right. I hope I'm saying some good things. I'm trying my best. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Tanya, for that. Hey, go ahead and throw in a few more comments when you're done. You can go back to the beginning if you came in late and listen to some of the first. And then, Lord willing, we'll have this by the end of the day on YouTube or no later than tomorrow. And yeah, we love you. We appreciate you. And as we always like to say, give yourself permission to have a great day. God bless. Bye-bye.